Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm going to give you a tour of my driving instructors database. The first form you will see is the welcome form. This shows you all of today's appointments, allows you to expand them into a report, quickly print it, or print the whole pack. It also shows you the main buttons taking you to the different parts of the database. First thing we're going to do is add a student into the database. So we do this by clicking on student details. The student details forms allows you to scroll through the different students or add new students, and because we're going to add a new student, we click on add new and add the student's details. We then click Save to save the student. Now that student is in the database, and we can click back to go back to the main form. Now we're on the main form, we're going to book a lesson for that student. So we click on Edit Lessons and we scroll through to find the student, which is right here. To add a lesson, we put in the lesson date, which we're going to put as today, and then we make up a time, so 1 PM. And then if you like, you can type a location and a duration, which I will say is 1 hour. Now the lesson price automatically comes as £20 because I've set it as £20 per hour, but you can change this at the end here, and you can also decide whether the student has paid or not. Once you've added the lesson, you click Save and the lesson is saved into the database, and you can go back to the main form where the student's appointment is now under today's appointments because it is today. Now say I want to expand today's appointments, I can click Expand and it opens it in a report by time order. So 1 PM today, John Smith. I can also print this quickly by clicking on Quick Print, which shows me a preview of what I'm going to print, and then it asks me to print it. I can also print a pack, which not only prints this, but also prints a blank progress form so I can write down the student's progress throughout the lesson, and a blank lesson form so if he decides to book a lesson at the end of today's lesson, I can write down the information on this. And then it asks me to print it. Now back to the main form, I may want to book a test for that student, so I can click on Test Details, and it opens up a new form showing all of the upcoming tests. At the moment there's no upcoming tests, so let's book a test for John Smith. Click on New Test Date, and then scroll through to find the student you want. So John Smith, and then test type, so theory, date of test, let's pick tomorrow. Time of test, 2 PM. And because he's not got his result yet, the result is not available. Scroll down, save this, and it's now saved into the database. Press back, and his theory test is now in the upcoming tests. It's also in the View All Test Dates of all upcoming tests and all tests in general. When he has finished his theory test, I can go back into Test Details, go on to New Test Date, scroll through to John Smith again, and I can change his result to pass or fail, and if it's passed then I can put his theory certificate number into the box and then save it into the database. Once the student has paid for the lesson, you can click on View Finance and you can add their income into the database. So you add how much they've paid for the lesson, so £20, and then it's student's lesson payment, and then today. So you save that into the database, and then you can go back, and it's under this month's income. It also adds to the total of this month's income. So say you want to expand this month's income, you can click on Expand, and again it opens a report as with today's lessons, showing you via student ID though this time, and how much they have paid, and when they've paid. You can also quickly print this by clicking on Quickly Print, which then opens a print preview of what you're about to print and then prints the report for you. I can also add income from another source in case it's not from a student. I do this by clicking on Add Income and then Add from Elsewhere. As well as income, I can add expenses into the database in case you want to add expenses such as petrol or the MOT for the car or any maintenance costs. I do this by clicking on View Expenses. I can then add a new expense and I can pick what the piece is. And click on Save. It then saves it into the View All Expenses field. All of the search functions in the database work the same, so I'm going to show you an example of how to search for student. First you click on student details, and then find students. Then you can see the buttons where you can search by forename, surname, or you can do a full search, which is both the forename and the surname. We're going to click on search by forename and enter a forename. It now brings you the results of the search, and as you can see, it brings you back the right results. That concludes the tour of my database. You can quit by clicking on the back buttons, which close the form that you're currently on. And then you can quit the whole program by clicking on the quit button.